Pope Francis dominates the religion scene in these last couple of years, especially. So here is a new headline about him. Islam and Christianity share roots in conquest, claims Pope Francis.
Oh.
And so he said, you know, Christianity was a conquering religion also, and so let's not be so down on these people, because we have a similar path in our past. So, you know, and you know, I just want to say this about Pope Francis. I think he's a wonderful person. You know, maybe you didn't expect me to say that. I think he is really a wonderful person. I'm not sure if he really knows the Lord, but I've read his encyclicals, and I've found the gospel in there. I know that he knows what it is, but I don't see that he's evangelistic in the least. You know, his problem is that he has inherited a church that is on serious decline, and has been ever since the Reformation. But it's had a huge push in that direction because of the pedophilia problem, with so many priests abusing children, and people that just are tired of the gobbledygook and are going to churches like ours and Calvary chapels and stuff like that. And so his best path towards building the Catholic Church back up is to be open to everybody, you know, in the hopes that some of them will join the Catholic Church. I think that must be it. But what it's feeding into is the end times one world religion that we'll be studying at the end of our study in a few weeks, where the woman sits on the beast, the harlot sits on the beast. The harlot is religion. And it's not just Christianity, but it's something like coexist. Have you seen that coexist sign? You know, it's everybody all blended together, probably under a kind of a New Age banner. And last week, one of the questions, I think the one that Mark brought up, we mentioned that the church, as we know it, will be so different in the tribulation. There'll still be churches, but they won't be giving the gospel. They'll be teaching that all of us need to come together to save the world from the chaos, that we're fighting each other over our religions. So the only answer is to have one great world religion, and that's what Revelation teaches is going to happen at the end, because this one great world religion gives its power to the great world dictatorship of Antichrist. So anyway, there's one other thing, in case you're not aware of it, because every once in a while I find somebody that hasn't really heard this. There's a strong possibility, according to Catholics' own history and so on, that this is the last pope. Because back in the days of St. Malachi, which I forget now, it's like 500 years ago or something, really long time ago, he was given a vision, and we don't put this on the plane of biblical revelation, and the Catholic Church has never accepted it as being true or accurate, but they've never done away with it or said that it was wrong either. So that's kind of interesting. But he had this list of 112 popes that were going to come into power from his day until the end. And the first batch of them are not very what would you say, exact? Well, they're too exact, because they were reworked by the Catholic Church at some point to make them look more like it really was fulfillment by the different popes. But from that point on, the second half, there have been interesting correlations between these prophecies that Malachi had. And he was a good guy, by the way. He was really devout and so on. But there's correlations between his prophecies of these popes for the last half of this, up to this time, that have been pretty much come true. There have been things on their coat of arms, or historical events during their reign over the church, or things like that make people say, yeah, you know, Malachi might have really received something from God. We don't know for sure. But the point is, for sure, it ended with 112th Pope, and this Pope, Francis, was the 112th to be chosen from Malachi's time. And somewhere here I have the saying that he had about him. Here's what Malachi wrote. It's supposed to have been a vision from God. And there are prophecies and visions from God and things like that. They do not have the same force at all that the Bible has, and so we never put much stock in them. But at least it's interesting, I'll say that. Here's what he said about the last pope. In the extreme persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will sit Peter the Roman, who will nourish his sheep in many tribulations. When they are all finished, the city of 7 hills, that's Rome, will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge his people. The end. And that's kind of hair-raising, you know, and just think about it. This is 500 years ago. This is the brutal end, you know. Rome's going to be destroyed. And you can't tell from, at least I can't tell from this prophecy, if it is a prophecy, I just want to hedge my bets there, that the Pope was good or bad. See, he was valiant to the end. He tried to save the church, but it didn't work. So that's interesting, isn't it?